In this video, I will be talking about linear functions, and this is under the topic of problem solving and modeling. Linear function is actually a linear equation in this form: ax plus by equals c. And we usually change its form so that it's easier to graph, or it's easier to describe how the graph looks like in this form: y equals mx plus b. And this is what you call a slope-intercept form, where the m is the slope or gradient and b is the y-intercept. If the graph looks like this, going up from left to right, that means the m or the slope is positive. If the graph goes down from left to right, that means the m is negative or the slope is negative. That's why it's easy for us to describe the graph even if we can't see it by just using the slope-intercept form. Because if m is positive, the graph goes up, and if m is negative, the graph goes down. Now let us try to solve some word problem involving linear function. So here's the first problem. Lucy painted her room. She had 100 square meters to paint, and she painted at a constant rate. After 2 and 45 minutes of painting, she had 45 square meters left. Let y represent the area in square meters left to paint after x hours. Letter A. Find the linear equation for the relationship between the area and number of hours. And letter B. How many square meters is left to paint after 4 hours and 36 minutes? So let us solve. Let's have the Cartesian plane, where the x is the number of hours and the y is the area unpainted. And so if the x or the number of hours is 0, then the y should be 100, and that is the unpainted area. Of course, if x is 0, that means Lucy hasn't started painting yet. And then based on the given, after 2 and 45 minutes of painting, she had 45 square meters left. Now 2 and 45 minutes means 2.75. Why 0.75? Because 45 minutes is 0.75 of 1 hour, or 60 minutes. So 45 out of 60 is 0.75. That's why it's 2.75 hours. And so if you're going to graph the dot, it's going to be here with its y, which is 45. And so if we connect these two dots, we will have a line. And then we are going to identify the coordinates of the dots or the points, where the first one is 0, 100, and the second one is 2.75, 45. So we have the x sub 1, y sub 1 for the first coordinate, and x2, y2 for the second coordinate. So why did we label it? Because we will use it to find the slope. And so let us substitute. So substitute y sub 2 with 45, y sub 1 with 100, x sub 2 with 2.75, and x sub 1 with 0. And then we subtract 45 by 100, it's going to be negative 55. And that's also 2.75 by 0, so it's going to be the same. And then if we divide negative 55 by 2.75, it will be negative 20. And that is the slope, which is reflecting to our graph that is going down because it's negative. And so since our m is already solved, then we can substitute it to the slope-intercept form y equals mx plus b, where our m is negative 20 and the b or the y-intercept is 100. y-intercept is the y where the line intercept the y-axis, which is in the y equals 100. That's why the y-intercept is 100. And so we have our mathematical model y equals negative 20x plus 100 that is representing our given problem. Since we already have a mathematical model for our given problem, then we can answer the question: how many square meters is left to paint after 4 hours and 36 minutes? So let us use the equation y equals negative 20x plus 100. Then we're going to substitute the x by the given time, 4 hours and 36 minutes. So we convert first the 36 minutes into decimal. That means 36 out of 60, or 36 divided by 60 is 0.6. So x is 4.6. And then we're going to multiply negative 20 and 4.6. It will be negative 92. Then get the sum of negative 92 and positive 100. It will be 8, or 8 square meters. This means after 4 hours and 36 minutes of Lucy painting her roof, she still has 8 square meters unpainted. So let us try to solve another problem. Kenny is starting a business tutoring students in math. They rent an office for $5,500 per month and charge $2,500 per month per student. How many students do they need to get a profit of $30,000 in a month? So let us graph this problem first. So we have the Cartesian plane, where x is the number of students and the y is the profit. So if the x is 0, then the y must be negative 5,500. It's because if the x is 0, that means Kenny has no duty. But still, he has to pay the rental of the office, which is 5,500. And then our problem is to find this number of students so that we will have a profit of 32,000. So let's connect these two dots to form a line. And then let's figure out the mathematical model behind this problem. So let y equals the profit and x be the number of students. So the slope is actually given. That is the rate, which is 2,500 per month per student. And the y-intercept can be seen in the graph. That is the negative 5,500. As I said, the y-intercept is the part of the y-axis that is intercepted by the line, which is y equals negative 5,500. So the mathematical model looks like this: y equals 2,500x plus negative 5,500. Or we may write it this way. Then let us substitute. Y is 32,000 and the x is to be solved. So transpose negative 5,500, it will change sign, and then let's combine. It's gonna be 37,500. Then we will divide both sides by 2,500. It will be 15, or 15 students. That means for Kenny to have a profit of 32,000 in a month, he has to get 15 duties. Now let's have one more problem. Ben wants to rent a car for a trip to Cebu City for 1 week. He calls 2 car rental companies to get prices. Mr. Tan's Rentals rents a car for 560 pesos for 1 week plus 50 pesos per kilometer over 100 kilometers. Lopez Rentals has the same vehicle for 380 pesos per week and 65 pesos per kilometer over 150 kilometers. If it is 432 kilometers to Cebu City, Which company has the better deal? How many kilometers would Ben drive over each base distance so that he would be spending the same amount at either company? Now let's graph the given problem. So you have the Cartesian plane, and the x will be the number of kilometers over the base distance, and the y is the rental cost. So for Mr. Tan's rentals, then if x is 0, then the cost will only be 560 because it didn't go over the base distance, which is 100 kilometers. Now if it's going to Cebu City, that is 432 kilometers, then it will be 432 minus 100, which is 332. And then we're going to look for its total rental cost. If we connect the dots, then that's going to be the graph for Mr. Tan's rentals. Now for Mr. Lopez rentals, if x is 0, then the y or the rental cost must be only 380 because we didn't go over the 150 kilometers base distance. Now if it's 432 kilometers going to Cebu City, then 432 minus 150 will be 282. Then we're going to look for its total rental cost. So let us solve this. Let y equals rental cost and x be the number of kilometers over its base distance. So Mr. Tan's rentals, we're going to find the x first. 432 minus 100, it's 332 kilometers. Then we will use the mathematical model y equals 50x plus 560. So 50 is the rate, 50 pesos per kilometers over the base distance, and the 560 is the fixed cost. So substitute x by 332, and we're going to multiply 50 and 332, which will be 16,600. And then we get the sum, it will be 17,160 pesos. Now for Mr. Lopez rentals, the x will be 432 minus 150, which is 282 kilometers. That is the distance over the base distance. And then the mathematical model y equals 65x plus 380. So 65 is the slope, which is the rate, 65 pesos per kilometers over the base distance. And 380 is the fixed cost. So substitute x with 282, and we multiply 65 and 282, it will be 18,330. Then we get the sum, 18,710 pesos. So therefore, Mr. Tan's rentals has a better deal. Now let us try to solve the second question. How many kilometers would Ben drive over each base distance so that he would be spending the same amount at either company? So let us graph again, with x is the number of kilometers over the base distance and y is the rental cost. So here's the graph, and what we are after is to find this x, or the number of kilometers over the base distance, which is exactly pointing to the point of intersection of the two graphs. So we have the two mathematical models for Mr. Tan and Mr. Lopez, and then we're going to solve this by subtracting the two equations. So y minus y is 0, and 50 minus 65 is negative 15, and 560 minus 380 is 180. Now we have one equation, and we can now transpose the negative 15x. Then we divide both by 15, so x is 12 kilometers. That means Ben drive over 12 kilometers than the base distance for each car, so that it will be the same amount or the same rental cost for both Mr. Tan and Mr. Lopez. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have learned something from this lesson.